The dust motes danced in the lone shaft of light, slicing through the gloom of the forgotten reliquary, an antique shop less known for its pristine condition, and more for the profound melancholy that seemed to cling to every item within its walls. Ilara, a woman whose life had been a series of quiet observations and a deep fascination with the echoes of the past, often found solace in such places. She wasn't a casual browser, she was a seeker, drawn to objects that whispered forgotten tales, each chip and faded stain a testament to a life lived. Today, her gaze, sharp and discerning, snagged on a small, exquisitely carved music box tucked away on a lower shelf, almost hidden by a stack of moth-eaten lace and tarnished silver frames. It was crafted from the darkest mahogany, its surface polished to a deep, lustrous sheen that somehow absorbed the meager light. Intricate silver filigree, so fine it seemed woven by moonlight, adorned its lid, depicting a desolate landscape of weeping willows bowed under an invisible weight, and slender figures with heads perpetually lowered in sorrow. A tiny, almost imperceptible inscription etched into its brass base read, "Listen to the unseen, for their tears echo eternal." Intrigued, a strange pull in her chest, Ilara reached for it. It felt unnervingly cold, disproportionately heavy, as if it contained not just gears and springs, but the condensed sorrow of ages. The shopkeeper, a gaunt man whose eyes seemed to have witnessed centuries of human folly, merely grunted as she presented it, accepting her payment with a swift, silent transaction that felt less like a sale and more like a solemn transfer of a profound, inexplicable burden. Back in the hushed, almost sterile silence of her apartment, a space meticulously curated to reflect her appreciation for the quiet beauty of aged things, Ilara placed the music box on her vintage writing desk. Its aesthetic appeal was undeniable, a masterpiece of craftsmanship, yet an unsettling aura clung to it, a subtle chill that permeated the air around it. With a delicate, almost reverent touch, she wound the small brass key embedded in its side, her heart holding the familiar anticipation of a tinkling, whimsical tune, perhaps a forgotten lullaby, a classic waltz, or a sprightly jig from a bygone era. Instead, as the last click of the key echoed, a sound began to emanate from within, a sound unlike anything she had ever heard. It wasn't music in any conventional sense. It was a cacophony of sorrow, a fragmented symphony of laments that seemed to pluck at the very strings of her soul. First, a faint, reedy whimper, like a child lost and utterly alone in a vast, cold forest, followed by the distant, desolate howl of a wolf baying at a blood moon. Then, a stifled sob, deep and raw, vibrating with a pain too profound for words, succeeded by the mournful sigh of what felt like generations of collective, forgotten grief. The sounds were subtle, almost ethereal, weaving in and out of each other, forming a tapestry of pure, unadulterated heartbreak. It wasn't loud, yet it resonated deeply within her, stirring an ancient ache she didn't know she possessed, an empathy that transcended time and personal experience. The music box only played cries, each note a tear, each chord a broken heart. The music box became an unsettling yet strangely captivating companion in the days and weeks that followed. Ilara found herself drawn to its macabre melodies, its mournful tunes, a constant, haunting backdrop to her thoughts, often playing late into the night as she read or simply stared into the quiet darkness. She spent hours, sometimes lost in a trance, trying to decipher the individual cries, to trace their elusive origins, to understand the mechanism, both mechanical and perhaps metaphysical, that could produce such pure anguish. Was it the silent scream of an artist's unfulfilled dream, the echoing farewell of a lover lost to war, the soft, desperate gasp of someone taking their last breath in solitude? There was the distant wail of a ship's horn swallowed by a storm,
the mournful creak of a gallows, the collective murmur of countless unseen tears shed through history, condensed and distilled into these fragile notes. Each time the delicate, melancholic sounds filled her apartment, she felt a profound sense of shared humanity, a deep empathy, a strange connection with the anonymous sufferers whose anguish was now encapsulated within this small wooden vessel. It was morbid, yes, a testament to suffering, but also strangely therapeutic, as if by bearing witness to these encapsulated sorrows, she was somehow acknowledging their existence, lessening their weight on the fabric of the world, and perhaps finding a mirror for her own unspoken burdens. One particularly stormy evening, as the rain lashed against her windows like 1,000 weeping hands, and the wind howled through the city streets, the cries emanating from the music box seemed to intensify. They grew sharper, more immediate, as if the storm outside was amplifying the sorrow within. Amidst the general tapestry of despair, the faint, almost silent sob of a mother mourning a child, the brittle, echoing crack of a broken promise, a distinct, agonizingly familiar whisper emerged. It was a fragmented, almost silent gasp, a deep, shuddering cry that pulled at a long-suppressed thread in her memory, unraveling years of careful emotional construction. It was the exact sound her own mother had made, a raw, choking sob, the night her father, her anchor, had passed away years ago, leaving a void that had never truly been filled. She froze, a chill colder than the autumn air seizing her, her breath catching in her throat. The music box wasn't just playing generic sorrow, it was mirroring her own sorrow, reflecting her own unexpressed grief, the cries that she had buried so deep within herself, convinced that acknowledging them would somehow break her. The intricate carvings on its lid seemed to twist and weep, the silver filigree transforming into shimmering, flowing teardrops, each one a pang in her chest. The box wasn't merely a conduit for external pain. It was a profound, mystical mirror, reflecting the unacknowledged anguish residing in her own soul, forcing her to confront the very tears she had consciously, deliberately refused to shed for so long. She stared at the box, no longer merely an object of antique curiosity, but a profound, almost sentient entity, an oracle of pain and an instrument of truth. As the familiar, almost forgotten cry of her mother continued to play, intertwining with the echoes of her own silent suffering, something shifted irrecoverably within Elara. A dam broke. Tears, hot and raw, finally welled in her own eyes, blurring the outlines of the room, washing away years of stoic suppression and unaddressed grief. She didn't try to wind it down, she let it play. Let its mournful notes accompany her own profound release, a symphony of shared anguish and personal catharsis. She wept for her father, for her mother's pain, for her own lost innocence, for all the unspoken sorrows she had carried. When the last tear finally fell, and the last echo of her mother's cry faded into the quiet hum of the room, a profound stillness settled. The music box itself seemed to fall silent, its somber melody ceasing completely, as if its purpose had been fulfilled. It sat there, dark and beautiful, no longer emitting any sound. She didn't try to wind it again. She understood now. The music box wasn't designed to play forever. It played until the cries it contained, or perhaps the cries it awakened within its listener, had finally found their acknowledgement, their release. It was a vessel not of suffering, but of catharsis, a quiet, beautiful, and profoundly heartbreaking testament to the enduring, healing power of acknowledged grief, a melody of tears that ultimately brought peace.